You see, anytime, buddy, somebody tells you that the God has judgment, then it's not God. Then it's just, it might be a small God. I know, a very minor God idea. But it sure can't be God. The definition of God being, the top thing, the all-inclusive. To be all-inclusive, to be all of it means there's no judgment involved. Because it'd be all of it. It has to be all of it. It has to be flies. It has to be mosquitoes. It has to be tornadoes. It has to be floods. As well as joy, sex, happiness, food, being sufficient food. It's got to be all of it. All of it, all of it. And when it's all of it, it's all equal. There's no judgment possible. As soon as you say into judgment, then, folks, they're leading you astray. What's the metaphor of those Dark Age people? The wolf in sheep's clothing. They're leading you astray. Trying to tell you, boy, don't do that because of the rule from the God. And what does this entail? You quite correctly ask. Since we're talking about air, you can tell it just falls apart. This whole thing of this religion is a bunch of bullshit from the Dark Age ignorant people who didn't know anything and were trying to control. Have some system of control for the community and a community identity. Us versus them. Our rules. Defend our situation by defending our God. Type of thing. And so when they won, they would go out and fight these stupid, ridiculous, ignorant things, wars, right? And they'd say, we won because God was on our side. That's lunatic stuff. It's so obviously fake. Then you can see that for all of us who are 21st century people, you've outgrown all that crap. You see right through it. You're not part of it anymore. You don't have any identity with it anymore. They're all just kind of funny little weird stories. People running around doing weird things back then. And now you're in the 21st century. And you're still supposed to be holding on to the dead weight of all that crap from the Dark Ages of ignorant people using their myth-based stuff to justify repression of women, repression of gays, and actually segregation and racism as well. Based on a book of ignorance. Because that's what the whole thing is. As soon as you bring in the idea of judgment by this invisible, then you can tell it's just a system of manipulation that's to scare ignorant people, illiterate, ignorant people, to keep them in control. And that's all they had back then. The thing is, got perpetuated century after century after century. So it has, what you see, these big, beautiful stone cathedrals built on that myth, this repression. It's weird, isn't it? As soon as you look at, really taking, if you want to, take an interest in looking at religion objectively, you see that some religions do this, some religions do that, everybody claims they got the hoodoo voodoo of the thing. And all of them use that claim to justify repression against somebody else who's not part of their little group. And they use it to justify repression and box building, control within their own members, limit their behavior. What clothes you can wear, what social activity you can do. Like the lunatic, what are they, we're down there, the Baptists, and trying to tell you, oh, you can't dance. Dancing is evil. You can't. You couldn't listen to music. Believe was a key evil. Isn't it obvious? Blazingly obvious. So much so, see, that it's just not part of you anymore. You're not part of that anymore at all. You're gone. Let that all go. That dumb stuff go. And instead, you're looking at the whole thing with your 21st century intelligence. Your evolved intelligence. And what do you see? It's all within you. This whole thing, guaranteed, not myth, guaranteed, is you. Your life. You are the star of the movie of your life for your whole duration. When you're a little baby, when you're a teenager, you're in your 20s, your 40s, whatever, How long it'll last. Maybe you only get 10 years. Maybe you only get 20 years. And then the certainty is death. You're going to drop that body. It's the body that's the agent. It's the body that's carrying you along, right? And then that body stops. It's going to stop. It's going to wear out. And it's going to be, all sorts of things can happen to it so that it stops. Diseases, infections, all sorts of stuff, right? And then once again they try and tell you, oh God, there's God. And then a baby dies at 5 days. And I go, why did the baby have to go? It was born and then lasted only 5 days and died. See, and back then they didn't have any idea, so they just said, well, it's God's will. That was it, Dumbass stuff. Made up stuff, myth. No answer, no knowledge, no reality. COVID, look at COVID-19, showing you how the reality of life is. A little virus, one of many viruses that can kill you. There it is. Reality, not myth. So here you look and see, as 21st century people do, they don't look at myth. They look at reality. And they see it's all within yourself. It's your life. All the way through. And in there, at some point, that body is going to stop and you will know the experience of what happens at death. You will know it. Guaranteed. You'll live it. And then, of course, when that actually happens to you and you actually die, who are you going to call? Make a quick cell phone number. Hey, I just died and I want to tell you how it was. You laugh. You have to. At reality. Reality. You're going to live. You're going to live for some duration and drop the body. It's the body. That's the temporary vehicle. All around you, in fact, you look out and you say, everything is temporary. For a while, it's summer. Then it goes into fall. And then it goes to winter. Then it goes to spring. Then it goes to summer. There are beautiful plants, and they go through their cycle. They bloom beautiful flowers. Everything goes through it, and then it drops. And it drops seed, and it starts again. Because that's the cycle. Produces a seed. Boom. There's a cycle of the thing. You, like all living species, produce others. Have sex and produce others. Just like a bird, a fish, an elephant, a tiger, gazelle. Well, what's left if the body is just the vehicle? Is it the thing? Is it it? It's the vehicle. It's the thing the form you have. And that's all you got right there. Just a form. Okay, there's the form. And that's what you were born with, whatever that condition is. If you got all your senses intact and your abilities intact, or if you're impaired in this way or that way in your system, well, whatever it is, that's what you got this time. Fact. And at some point that will stop. So you look within. Because the only place to find any of this thing, what's going on, is there something, what is it, is within yourself. You gotta look in. Not outside. Nobody's coming from the big outside. They're coming from the big voices coming down. He'll tap you on the head and, geez, you'll just wake up and, boy, you're just gonna be, oh, I got it, oh, now I know. Even back when people made those claims, what was really happening? They were getting it from within themselves, or else it never would have happened. The insight, the understanding. When that realization, when that enlightenment happens, you do it. It's self-liberation. It's self. You do it. Buddha is the example of just that. Went out, tried these things, did it himself. And by doing that found, whoa, the answer. That it was there all along. Because everything else was a deflection. Looking out, going outward, do this activity, do that activity, outward stuff. And instead, it was making unnecessarily difficult an obstruction of the reality, finding reality. The real thing is just there within you, always has been, right there. And you, though, have to make the same effort yourself. It isn't going to be a light bulb switch moment where you just flick the switch and bingo, you got it. Oh boy, I got it. And the rest of your life, oh boy, I got it. I'm awake. Jeez. Oh no. Doesn't happen. Because you've been so obstructed with all the myths and all the indoctrinations from society and culture, your family, your friends, the military propaganda, the lies and distortions and prejudices all around you, and then add into it all the crap of the internet, social media, Facebook postings, Instagrams, TikToks, and on and on and on, to keep you occupied out there. Just bingo bango, living life to the fullest, putting another post up, ha ha ha, oop, die, boom. Gone. What did you know? Did you want to know? Did you want to have an interest in knowing? Well, you can know. You can find it. They've been doing it for a long time. The information's there to kind of get you started, and then you do it. And then you see for yourself. You get it and go, yeah, wow. And the thing that's laughable is that it was always there within you right from the beginning. At any time, any moment, you could get it and understand it. How long did it take? Going here and there, searching this, doing that, listening to all this stuff, being distracted here, playing with kids and going having kids, or doing the thing, what not to, everything you gotta do, or not. You know, you start and you become you're a little kid for a while. You're deeping and jabbing and deeping and wrapping around. And you keep growing. If you're lucky, you keep living, you keep living, you keep living. And then what happens? You know, you play around, you can hear them in the background. And then they just get older. You get older. Things change. So you keep looking, you look inside, and what do you find in that big thing inside of you? The whole thing is transitory. The whole thing, obviously, you're born here, you live for some duration, you die here. You have the body carries you for some duration. It stops, it changes, it grows, it ages, and then it wears out. And it's done. And then you look inside and you say, well, what is it then? Everything has changed. The seasons change, the plants grow, they ain't tired. This goes, I get older, what stays? Does anything stay? Where do you find it? Within yourself. The only place that becomes the center is within you. And then you get it. Oh boy, you get it. It's like you go in a big circle when you do that. You go from the whole thing of saying, this activity. I am a kid, now I'm doing this, I'm having fun here, I'm going there. And then you're going on life, and my goodness, what is it about life? And you keep aging. And then you come around. Now, if you make the chance, and you put the effort in, and you look, and you find it, what do you find? What do you figure out from direct experience? It's more like air as a metaphor. And air. The whole thing has all this beautiful opportunity, has all these beautiful factors, beautiful flowers, plants, beautiful food possibilities, beautiful life possibilities, beautiful planet. And everything's transitory of that stuff. And the real thing that defines everything, figures out, explains everything, is more like, as a metaphor, is like air. Doesn't hold anything, doesn't judge anything, doesn't have a prejudice, doesn't have a direction, doesn't care what you're watching on TV or not watching TV, doesn't care and makes this is better, that's worse. And when you find that, oh boy, see what happens. See for yourself.